The shank from the mine to attach to the drone.
Militarization of the
подрастающего
younger
поколения в
generation is now
России.
a norm in Russia. For example, in Tatarstan, in a creative arts center, Russian children now make mine shanks.
Tails are first printed on a 3D printer and then the students complete them by hand. These parts of the mines are needed so that when they are dropped from drones, they fly straight into the target and do not flip over in the air. From the ЧДТ Telegram channel.
Vladimir Putin wants to introduce military propaganda in kindergartens as well. He approved the idea of the Russian education minister to introduce the patriotic movement called Eaglets of Russia, which was originally created for junior school children in preschool institutions. According to him, more than 2.5 million junior school children, or every third primary school student, have already joined the Eagles. It is an analog of Soviet pioneers, primary task of which is to educate a generation loyal to the regime, and there are dozens of such organizations in Russia. The Federation already allocates huge amounts of money from the budget for the new pioneers.
The budget allocated 19 billion rubles for the creation of the movement of the first, which is comparable to the revenues of some Russian regions. For example, Kalmykia 24 billion rubles or the Jewish Autonomous Region 20.4 billion. The Russian authorities will also spend more on the new pioneers than on medical research centers and the introduction of innovative medical technologies, from an article in the Moscow Times.
In kindergarten in Arkhangelsk, instead of new toys, repairs or equipment, 225,000 rubles were spent on opening the Museum of the Great Patriotic War Memory, a peasant hut, a siege of Leningrad, and a soldier's dugout. Visiting these expositions will now replace games for children.
It is difficult to find something bright and good in Russia nowadays, because it seems that there is only old and disinterested people around, blindly believing in the TV. But it isn't. I believe in those who are besieged, doing their job and trying to express support for the people of Ukraine and oppose the state as much as possible. But of course, it's hard.
Art, education, and media resources, all of this is filled with propaganda in Russia. For example, in Moscow, a military patriotic dictation was held, during which questions were asked about the purpose of Russia's invasion in Ukraine, as well as about the so-called provocations, such as the massacre of civilians by Russian soldiers in Bucha near Kiev. Everything to make sure that children believe in Kremlin's version of events. In total, federal budget expenditures on so-called education of patriotism among citizens within the framework of the National Education Project in 2023 have increased by 6 times to almost 40 billion rubles. The authorities are stepping up propaganda to prevent future youth protests. Reported by Anastasia Tarnavska, Victoria Smirnova, UATV News.